Because we share. Because we share.
I'd like to start by asking just a few general questions, and then we'll get into some conversation, and we'll open it up to the audience too. Anything y'all would like to bring into the conversation. So, Susan, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about how you determined the curriculum for the mainframe study?
Well, we have an advisory board, and any one of you in the audience is welcome to join the advisory board that we consult with on a regular basis if we're going to develop a new curricula, and also if we want to look at our current curriculum and make sure that it's still valid and relevant. And you can join it. It's just a phone call, maybe once every quarter. It's not a tremendous time obligation. So we do have folks from all different Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, governmental organizations that participate on our advisory board. And it's also based on the conversations that we have with employers. And we have many, many conversations with employers who are suddenly faced with the retirement of their skilled professionals, and they come to us asking about our undergrads. Okay, and I should let you know that the IDCP program has serviced primarily working professionals. Companies sponsor their folks to come to the program. It is now starting to catch on with the traditional undergraduates, because all of these courses, or most of them, are approved for credit. So we do have traditional undergrads also taking the program. But we do have many conversations with folks looking for the same students. Everybody is looking for this talent. And in the course of those conversations, we hear what's relevant, what's needed out in the workplace. And we take that to heart, and we look at our curriculum regularly to make sure it's meeting your needs.
So as a follow-up to that, are you having problems trying to get the word out to the students? What do you do to attract the undergrads?
I think it's been getting better. In the beginning, it took a little bit of time, because initially, first of all, in academia, it takes a very long time to get programs approved for credit. You always start out as a non-credit offering, and of course then it's not really going to be taken by your traditional undergraduate. But our program was so successful, and it was such a great curriculum, that we managed to get 9 courses on the system programming track approved for credit. So with that, we had many students start to take them as electives. And we would go into the classes, the freshman introduction to programming classes, and we would talk about the mainframe. We would tell them, this is not a dinosaur, this is not dead, this is one sexy machine, okay? And it really, we would sex it up, basically. Tell them what's behind everything that they're enjoying, everything that they do constantly when they're walking around doing transactions all day long. There's probably a mainframe behind it, making it happen. So we talk about the power of the mainframe, and they really don't know anything about it, and so we try to bring awareness. And also what has helped tremendously is the fact that the employers who are knocking down our door for these students, and I'm talking a lot, we have, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, CA, of course, IBM, all, these companies are knocking down our door looking for these students. We tell them, Verizon is another one, bring pizza, bring lots of pizza, and just wow them with all these potential careers at your organization, and what a wonderful career they can have in mainframe, and start off at a really good salary. So the word is getting out, and we have just recently, really just last week, we got the final approval for an enterprise computing minor at Marist College. So we're hoping that we're going to have more and more students graduating with these skills.
Okay, thank you. Rob, you mentioned your program that you have at Nationwide. Would you like to go into a little bit more detail about it?
Yeah. So 4 years ago, we had a very similar challenge to a lot of us. Is that we did an analysis across our workforce in the mainframe space, and found that it was about 45% of our workforce was at retirement eligible age. 45%. And we hadn't done anything about that. So that was a pretty scary proposition. So what we looked at, and I have to give credit to a couple of my peers, they came from the bank up the road as we know it. They came to Nationwide, and they brought this program in. They helped establish this program at JPMorgan Chase. And they called it the ZSU, the Z-Series University Program. So it is a very comprehensive 40-week training program that we bring in. We establish 5 students, we bring them in, they're full-time employees, and they spend 40 weeks in a program that we work with our current engineers to create the curriculum. We start off foundationally, so bring them in and introduce them. We do use some external resources for some very specific type of training, but 90% of the training is conducted by all of our engineers. They'll spend 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the type of, or depending on the technology. We start off in October. We have a pretty significant vetting process to bring the candidates in. They'll work through the curriculum, and then we end up graduating them about August of the following year. But we also set them up to not only go through this curriculum, but we also position them to take the ZOS mastery test. So they walk away with some levels of certification after they exit the program. We work with our leadership team, and then we look at identify areas of where we have need across the technology, and then place those students into those technologies. We do an analysis on, where do we have the largest gap? Where do we have the biggest need? And we place those students in those. So now we've placed roughly, this year we'll have our 21st placement of students into our technology. Now it is a significant investment. Obviously, it's a significant investment, not only nationwide, but our executive leadership in the technology. So we obviously understand that, yes, from a staffing perspective, we have a bubbled up staff, but what we're able to do is really anticipate as those baby boomers start to move on into retirement, we can really start to backfill those roles that we're supplying through the ZSU program and enable us to position ourselves to support the platform through the future.
Thank you.
Yep.
I had the pleasure last year of listening to Jim speak at SHARE, and at that time you brought in a large group of your younger employees. So
31.
Yes,
Yep.
that was fantastic. So tell us a little bit more about that.
So as I mentioned, at CA we call it the Associate Software Engineer Program. So they're full new hire software engineers coming in to CA, usually June timeframe after graduation. 40 weeks. Ours is a 2-month boot camp. They show up at their home sites. They do a week there, so they get there, do the HR stuff, IDs, kind of settle in, understand what product teams they're going to be working with. Nice thing about that too is their leads or some of the ASEs from previous years kind of tell them, hey, look, this is what you really need to focus on when you do a lot of JCL, a lot of Java, whatever specific area that they need to be focusing on. They kind of have a little heads up. Come to Pittsburgh for 2 months. Last year we were very fortunate that we had SHARE in Pittsburgh, so 2 days we were able to bring all 31 to SHARE for those 2 days, which worked out real well. Again, similar 3 weeks assembler, kind of an overview. Don't want to fire hose them too much. What I'd like to point out, though, is something that has been very important to me there is it's not just about the what's, but the how's. CA in the last 2 years, we've got a new general manager that came from outside, Silicon Valley area, Mike Madden, some of you might know. Mr. Agile came in, hired Scrum Masters, product owners, really pushed the Agile. And what I've seen with that dynamic coming in is the old waterfall, or Scrum fall, if you're kind of a hybrid Agile waterfall, where the architect, kind of chain of command dictates and then tells all the minions what needs to be done. What's nice about the ASEs coming in and with Agile, to encourage others that maybe are looking at Agile, is everybody has a seat at the table, has a say, kind of levels the playing field, and the new employees coming in really from day one are participating, in the 4-week, 8-week sprint, whatever they might be doing. So we're starting to see, as it's not just the technical skills, and I've shared with Susan and other schools that we're really looking for the whole employee, as I imagine similar to everyone else's shops there. It's just not just the technical skills. So this summer we incorporate, we had Rocky Blyer. If you're from Pittsburgh, everybody knows Rocky Blyer, but Vietnam vet, Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and 5-time Super Bowl champion. He came in and spoke. We did a lot of activities, so it's not just 9 to 5 class, but really kind of building up character. And saying that I've really tried to push there is, no sharp elbows. I don't care if you're a 4.0, sharpest person in the room. If you're a pain to work with, I don't want you on my team. And we really instill that. And I think how we started the program well before me was 7 years ago. CA started building out a site in Hyderabad, India. And what they found there was no mainframe skills. And very quickly said, we need to have an in-house university. And then our other core site is in Prague, Czech, and then we got 6 core sites in the US. They said, you know what, we could replicate this across. And what I'm really proud to say, and I see it every day, is 42% of our mainframe organization, and this didn't happen overnight, so anybody that hasn't started, get started now, because it's taken us 7 years to get here. But 42% of our organization right now is 35 years young or younger. So I'm almost the old guy now, which is a good feeling, because previously I was the young guy, and I looked around and I was concerned. I've got 2 little kids. Can I do this 20 years from now, or is it me as a team of 1? And it's not, you backfill, Johnny retires tomorrow, and you hire Susie, and you're good. Rob and I have talked about it. You're not going to backfill 35 years experience with an ASE, but now I'm 7, 8 years in with the ASEs, and they're middle tenure kind of knowledge now that we do have a succession plan, and it looks sustainable. And I tell you, an unintended consequence that I've seen, actually 2 more nuggets. First, how the heck are you paying for this? And that's the first thing I said is, recs, when they're open, when things get tight, the easiest thing to do is close the recs. Boom, all right, we just saved $1 million. The nice thing that CA does, and I checked with finance and HR, and it's okay to share, especially with the ecosystem, is we're essentially budget neutral, which is a beautiful thing. And our general manager and CEO have cordon off that money, similar to how Social Security should probably be, but it's a lockbox. And we have X dollars of employees that naturally attrit or leave, go to other companies. And usually those are senior folks. We can bring in junior folks, and the reduction in salaries and everything that we've seen with that attrition, they utilize that to hire the new hires, obviously at a lower band level. And essentially, talking with our CFO, it's budget neutral. Which everybody likes to see, because nobody's seen an increase in their budgets. And that's how CA funds it. Now, it certainly takes discipline and dedication and commitment to doing that. The second thing I've seen is when I joined CA 2.5 years ago, you do your skip levels, meet the teams. I had several senior architects said, Jim, welcome aboard, but I'll tell you, I'm thinking maybe another year or 2. Fast forward now 3 years later, I've got a lot of those senior architects that are invigorated by the youth, maybe even challenged a little bit, but we all inherently take pride, especially on the mainframe. We're very proud of it. They want to pass on that knowledge, and those same folks now are telling me, Jim, I could see another 5, 7 years here if you'll keep me. So it's been an unattended benefit on the, it's not these kids are coming to take my job. It's, wow, I can pass on the knowledge. So I've really seen, nothing's perfect, but morale, there's been, and productivity, it's just been a kind of a nice culmination with the ASE program. And more importantly, because that's always the big question, is it's budget neutral. So we have hired 532 engineers, India, Prague, and US over the last 7 years. This year we've got 50 plus recs open. We've filled about half of them. The other thing that is nice is we partnered with the universities, and a lot of times it's a collateral duty for us, to go out and interview, and you go to the job fair and you sit there. At this point now with Marist, Robert Morris University, a little trivia financier of the American Revolution, Robert Morris, they've jumped on, and then Cameron Say, some of you guys might know from Share, North Carolina A&T, now they're sending us resumes, and they're pre-screened. So it's not a huge tax on us like it normally is when you go and recruit and you say, geez, I got 5 recs, how am I going to fill these? And now there really is a partnership, academic, university, and within the community. We're very fortunate in Pittsburgh. We got Carnegie Science Center, Foundation, real big with STEM, K through 12, and we're partnering with them. ITology, some of the, Mark Anzani's on the board, Adam Elster from CA's on the board. So you really start bringing the ecosystem together, and like I said yesterday, you become the ambassador for the Z, And I'll wrap up real quick, but by saying, and we haven't had a challenge filling these recs. You know, I think personally, it's a myth that, oh, no one wants to work on the mainframe. I'll tell you, it's 10 plus applicants for every rec I have. And word is getting out, university programs, but also the kids are starting. You know, the vice president of marketing from Maris last year at the ECC.
Oh, the vice, yeah, for IBM.
From Australia,
young
whatever.
women, the young
He showed up
women.
a slide, and this certainly helped. He showed a slide that said, you know, enterprise starting salaries for engineers, comp sci, graduating 70,000, distributed 55. And that certainly helps, the direct deposit. But I think also their peers aren't a bunch of 20-year-olds. They see our architects who have 35 plus years, and they see a career path. Hey, that's where I can be in 10 years. And once they do get informed about how ubiquitous or diverse the mainframe is, it's not just tech companies, you know, it's insurance, it's government, it's retail. Holy cow, that we haven't had an issue. The challenge has been selecting from, you know, all these applicants. And the other nice thing I'd say about the mainframe is those that normally are attracted to the mainframe, from what I've seen, are already kind of mature, informed, because they've done the research. You know, everybody wants to go work at Facebook or Google, but they've done the research at a young 21, 22 years old and said, you know what, I see a career on mainframe. So the kids, you know, you call them kids, but young men and women come and very mature, personable, and technically savvy, and looking forward to the challenge. They like that it's going to take 3 to 5 years to learn mainframe. You know, like the myth, I forget who it was, the lady yesterday from IBM Business Value talking about the myths of the millennials that, you know, they're lazy or they want a trophy right away. From what I've seen with the kids coming in, they're attracted to the mainframe because of that challenge. They're not intimidated, oh, it's going to take me 3 to 5 years to really contribute. They like that. So, you know, I'm very happy with our program, and I know, you know, nationwide, State Farm, I think last year spoke, they've got a similar program, and it's working. And one last thing I'll tell you real quick is we're starting to have, at least CA, we're having customers ask us now. Now it's not just tell me the technical viability of your solutions or products. The next question they ask after they're, okay, but what is your sustainability plan with your folks? I know Johnny and Susie today, but if I buy this product, who's going to be there 3 years from now, 5 years from now to support it? So it's become a strategic question with a lot of our customers who are concerned about the maturing workforce and who's going to be, you know, with the Z skills. It's been and that was kind of a surprise for me. And when we tell them about our program, State Farm said the same thing, and Nationwide probably similar. Kind of put them at ease. So it's an investment, but there's a lot of benefits around it. So thanks, Gail.
I'll have to say I have never seen so much energy in the room as when that young group of people was here, and they were fantastic to talk to.
Yeah, thanks, Gail.
So, very nice. Troy, you've been working with the IBM Initiative for a while now, and I've seen a lot of things change there. Why don't you tell us about what's current in that area and what's going on?
Do I have a couple hours here? So really, the IBM Academic Initiative, we're not just about, you know, finding you guys skills, but we're also about getting skills for our professors and for our students. So a lot of my job role is working with the professors and working with the students. And if you guys have heard the name Don Resnick before, which I'm sure most of you have, he works a lot on the client side of things. So really, my favorite project that I just took over last year is the Master of the Mainframe contest. And if anybody in this room has not heard of it, come and find me, and I'm going to beat it into you after this meeting's over. We actually have a session about it tomorrow at 12:15, and we were crunching some numbers today, and through that program we've reached 74,000 kids. And I'm going to use the word kids. I'm in my 30s, I'm allowed. So we've reached 74,000 kids from around the world, at least getting them touching on the mainframe. So that's a huge project that I work on. We just completely revamped it in 2014. So it's a global program. We're allowed to run it all year round. Each geography kind of runs it in their own time frame, but now that we have one common contest model, we're allowed to use it all year. And I've actually got professors that take that mainframe contest and turn it into an entire semester long teaching tool. So it's a really heavy hitting thing. Another thing that we did last year was Z University Ambassadors. Don and I are only 2 people, and we work with, there's about 1,400 schools around the world that we work with, and we can't hit them all. So we started this program called the Z University Ambassador. So what that is we basically, we have a lot of talent within IBM. They partner with 1 or 2 universities, and they work to get, they basically work with you guys, with the universities, to help fill that mainframe pool. So like I said, if you're trying to come to me and it takes me a while to get to you, this really helped to leverage me and Don able to get new schools involved in the program. Trying to think what else.
Well, I don't know how many people here went to the Z13 launch in New York. So this may be old news to most of you, but
oh, the World
tell
Championship.
Us about
Oh yes, World Championship, huge. So yeah, Dion Newman, as his name, he came up with this idea, and he goes, "We got to do something big. We got to bring in students. We got to bring in kids. We got to get them in front of all of our clients." So what we did was the contest has basically been running for 10 years now. This is going to be our 11th year. So what we did was we kind of looked at the talent pool of all the very top winners from each geography. So we ended up with a total of 43. Flew them into New York City for 3 days. We took them up to the Poughkeepsie lab there at IBM. They did a nice little day competition where they had judges come in and they presented in front of them. We knocked that down to 6, and then we took them down to New York City and to Manhattan, and we had a lot of big name judges come in, and they sat there and presented about the project that they worked on, and a lot of it had to do with mobile. So they were connecting their mobile devices to the mainframe, doing real-time application stuff, and these kids were just blowing everybody away. And I was looking at them, I was like, you guys could code me under the table any day. I said, I've been coding for years, and some of the stuff that they're just coming up with. And out of the 43, I don't think there's a single one that did not have a job offer right after that happened. And our next one we're actually doing in 2016. So we're going to start looking into the talent pool from last year and this year, and pulling that together again and doing another huge event in Manhattan sometime around April.
Thank you. Just a question to all of you. What are some of the pitfalls that a company should look for and try to avoid when they're setting up their own program?
Well, if I may, I mean, sometimes waiting too long, I think, is the worst pitfall, because as you know, these skills take a long time to really develop, and you really can't wait until your mature, skilled folks walk out the door to worry about replacing those skills, and I think everybody here kind of talked about that. And then we do get those panicky calls, at Marist. We need people right away, and we need them with the seed implanted already in the brain that you've just implanted 30 years worth of knowledge, and it doesn't work that way. So some of the things that have worked well, some of the programs, obviously when you have an internal like Z University, I think that's a great way to go. Some companies have worked with us where they've hired college grads with physics background, computer science background, IT, mathematics, and they hire them contingent. This is one model. They've hired them contingent on their passing our first course, the Introduction to ZOS class, through our associate certificate program. So they actually put them through this online program while they're still in college. They have a job offer contingent upon completing this course. And then when they pass the course, they're brought on board as an employee, and they put them through the rest of our program, all 3 years of the system programming track. And that has worked really well, because then while they're at their company, they're being mentored by a senior person, and that's great for the senior person, it's great for them, and they're learning how to do those skills at their workplace, because obviously every workplace is very different, every culture is very different. That model has worked very well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can tackle this problem, but if you wait too long, you're going to have to find a way to keep your mature people in the workforce. And if I might, I'd like you to take a look at a YouTube video when you leave here today. just because it's kind of entertaining. It's called the Training Crisis at DMWIT Financial, which I guess is like Dimwit Financial. And it's a little video, that kind of, a vignette that kind of addresses that problem. Okay.
Yep, that's fantastic. My advice is don't go it alone. Don't ever think that you're in it, by yourself when you're trying to start something new. I know personal experience when we start with new universities that have no mainframe skills with their professors, don't even know where to begin with the curriculum. There are so many universities and so many companies that would love to partner with you and help you establish something and help you create something. So never think like never try to do anything alone, and never think that you're alone in the process.
Yeah. Since the inception of Z-Series University at Nationwide, we've worked with several different companies, just kind of sat down with them, talked them through, provided them the information. I mean, we're willing to share. Here's how we have it set up. Do with it as you want. So I would highly recommend reaching out to not only IBM, CA, or one of the companies that has an internal program. We're certainly willing to help.
Do they have to buy you a beer?
Absolutely.
Well, that's a given.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Yeah, I'd say three things, which kind of echoing what the three of you just said. But first, don't be flat-footed. As I mentioned at CA, it's taken us 7 years to build this. 42% of the org, 35 years or younger, didn't happen overnight. Johnny retires. I'll just go tomorrow and pick up someone to backfill him. Doesn't happen. Second, I'd say partner with the schools, because setting up a table at a career fair, luck of the draw. You need to have partners, whether it's Marist, Robert Morris, Cameron Say from North Carolina, who we just hired one of his top students to pre-screened.
University of Arkansas.
University of Arkansas is a big one for our Plano office down there. Partner with the schools. So when those recs finally do open up, and we all know those are tough, you're ready. You got a plan. It's not a collateral duty to go out and find these kids, because it is very important. And then lastly, I'd say the commitment, which is easy to say, but the two examples I shared with you, because it's tempting to pull that lever, close the recs or don't open the recs to save a few dollars. But as I mentioned, customers are asking, hey, what's your plan around maturing workforce and Z-skills? Who's going to be supporting this product that I'm getting ready to purchase? And then the idea as far as budget neutral. There's inherently natural attrition going on, whether voluntary or involuntary. Utilize those dollars. It's very easy to tuck them away, but I think you got a business case with the customers. And what we've seen is, we're seeing less than 4% with attrition with our new hires, which I'm very proud of, and I think it speaks volume of the program, but also the young men and women coming in. They're not deterred by the challenge that mainframe's overwhelming, and more importantly, from what I've seen with this generation, is looking for the career, not just a job. They're looking for a career, and you can see it on the mainframe. I mean, there's an inherent, when I walk around CA, there's kind of a bell curve of 30 and younger, 30s, 40s, and then 50 plus. So you can kind of see the natural progression, which is nice.
I just want to add one more thing. When we were talking about partnering with the universities, if you don't know what universities are out there, especially I know for me, if you go to the IBM Academic Initiative website, we have a link out there that says which schools participate. We just completely updated it middle of last month, so you're going to see every single school that we partner with. There's contact information for the professors. I encourage you to go out. If there's a school right in your area, reach out to the professors, because they would love, love, love to hear from you.
And you can also find information about who's interested in this issue on the ECC website. So it's ecc.marist.edu, because we have this free conference. You can interact with folks. We'll probably have around 300 participants this year. And you can meet with academic professionals as well as other industry professionals who are, trying to deal with the same issue, and some students as well, because we bring students in to participate.
And if I could add one more, it was interesting for me as I was going around is, Carnegie Mellon right there in Pittsburgh, wonderful. The type of schools too. I went to the Harvard of the South, that we like to say, Tulane. A lot of silver spoons. Marist, Arkansas, Framingham State. North Carolina, A&T. I'll tell you that the work ethic there, often first generation college, very thankful. You need me to sweep floors, I'm sweeping floors. Whatever you need me to do. You know, the Carnegie Mellons, MITs we've recruited, a lot of those are looking to start the next Uber, Facebook. So I think also be careful the type of candidates you're looking for, because some kids are more startup and some are looking for careers. And that was something that I kind of realized when I went to a Carnegie career fair and was talking with these kids, and they're kind of looking at me like 9 to 5 mainframe now, that, you know, I want to start my company, and, you know, my senior thesis, I want to productize my thesis. Okay, so be careful too the type of schools you partner with, as well as local. You know, don't not that it's not possible, but I wouldn't necessarily be going to University of Texas Austin to recruit somebody to come to Pittsburgh, because by February or this time next year, probably like, what the heck did I do? So I think also, you know, awareness of your schools.
And I think with that, what I would say is, don't be concerned about you're gonna make a significant investment in these folks that come into your program. Don't be too concerned about them. You're going to train them, and oh, well, I'm training them, and then they can leave. They can. What value do I have of that? We've had 15 and now 21 through, but 15 are actually placed. We've not yet lost an individual to another company. So I think that they see this as an opportunity. They value the fact that you're investing in them, and then ultimately they're repaying that through their commitment.
One up to me.
I recently joined. I'm sorry?
Justin.
Justin's question.
I was just going to tell a little quick story. I recently joined Don at a technical college that's very close to my home and to my office, just outside of Atlanta. And they were excited about the opportunity to start bringing in some courses and go down that path. It does take a while to establish it, and they didn't pull any punches with us. They told us how long it would be before it could be part of the standard curriculum. But one ask they had of me and of the other professionals in the room was, who did we have in our organization that would be willing to come in and teach as an adjunct? They don't have professors on site that know the mainframe and have the background to be able to create those courses and run with them. So that's another way for your mature people to get re-energized and to be able to mentor the kids, not only within their own company, but in the community that they live in.
Can I also make a suggestion when you talk to them next, that we've had many faculty from other schools like Tennessee State, Alcorn, as just a couple of examples, come through our online program so that they could be prepared to teach. So that's another option, that we do have these online courses that can help. And we now have established actually IDCP Africa. So there's an IBM business partner in Africa that is marketing our courses to that continent, to their customer base. And they're going to also have their own staff take the classes so that they can then in turn teach the courses. So we welcome that, you know.
Right.
So.
Okay. You have a question?
Thank you. It's actually a comment, and it may go into a question probably for Rob. In my career development, you know, I'm starting to learn about leadership skills, you know, thanks to Buzz. And really, so one of the things that I found was, it's great that you're keeping your people, those folks, but I'm curious, are you having the conversations early about what it is they want? It might not be the financial gain. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's their career development gain. What is it that you're doing to keep them? I mean, it has to be something.
Yeah, well, a couple different things. So when they exit the program and they get incorporated into their technology team, we stay in contact with them. So they're ZSU alums, and they're ZSU alums for life. So we stay in direct contact. We pull them into, you know, kind of quarterly, maybe biannual. Involve them in the program, involve them in the new students. So as we have mentorship programs. So we're keeping them actively engaged, and we're also keeping them energized. We work with the leaders that these folks are now reporting to just to kind of keep up to date with them, ensuring that they have development plans that are in place to get them to where they want to be in their careers. So we spend a lot of time with them even after they've graduated the program. And one of the things I wanted to touch on, and kind of to Jim's point a little earlier, is one of the unintended consequences is that with the ZSU alums, we've really created this microculture. So it's very, very different than the culture that currently exists. And what we've seen is these folks that have come up, they have something in common, so kindred spirits now, is that they have this ZSU program in their in their history at Nationwide, and they align to each other, they go to each other, they talk to each other, they spend time, they're friends with each other. So it's really kind of creating that microculture of collaborative work. Now, as they're being placed in different technologies, we're really setting up the future for a much more collaborative experience in the platform.
Thank you.
Have you seen any indication of problems where perhaps you only had one or two people in at a time, a younger person coming in, where they could not fit into the culture of the more mature audience, and they're on their own? Are there ways that you're addressing that, or have y'all not faced that yet?
We haven't seen that yet. So I will say we have a pretty significant vetting process. As we get candidates, there's time. I think we started off relatively in our first year. We probably for 5 spots we probably had 24 candidates. This last year we had 50 that applied for the role. So we have a pretty significant vetting process to understand what are these folks really looking for? Are they looking for an opportunity, or are they looking for an opportunity in the mainframe? And that's one of the things that we're really, really careful about, is we're looking for folks that want an opportunity in the mainframe. This is what's energizing to them. They've done the research. They've done some homework. They're energized about it, and it's not just the opportunity.
Thank you.
And I just reiterate, the vetting process certainly, but also the intent. When I'm talking to my team, as far as GPA is a data point, but we're going to teach them. What I really want to know is their character. Who they are. So the type, we do a little logic test with them. I think just some of the ASCs do that, just to the other ASC alumni, to kind of push them a little bit. But really, what are you most proud of? What have you accomplished besides your family? What are you most proud of? Why are you here? Why CA? Why mainframe? And you kind of dig onto that, and very quickly you can defer as far as, are they here just for a job? Or, like I said before, most of these kids are pretty mature. They actively sought out, they recognize the value of the mainframe. And I'll tell you, I certainly, part of the reason I've stayed on the mainframe is there's a bit of mystique. Not everybody can do it. We've got one architect, some of you might know, Chuck Kalish. He often says when some of the ASCs get a little frustrated that, geez, if it was easy, anybody could do it. I expect you to be asking these questions, because we do run into some of them like, oh man, I just can't figure out, the just copy language. Can you help? And hey, look, if this was easy, anybody could do it, and they take pride in that. So I'd say the vetting process, keeping them engaged, like you said. And one thing that I've really tried to instill at CA, similar to the Marine Corps, is the 2-month boot camp is kind of a, it's the crucible. You're a CA'er, then you're a mainframer. But there is kind of a subculture that another unintended benefit is, and they don't need a lot of hand-holding, because they've got their own kind of community, and now 7 years into it, instead of the, I don't say attacks, but instead of the, hey, you have a second questions, they're going to each other. And so it's benefited the organization as a whole, and then the collaboration. And like I said, they're very mature. I haven't had the issue of it, because it could be intimidating. A 21, 22-year-old sitting at the table with Chuck Kalish, who's got 35-plus years, wow. But what I've seen is, instead of timid or intimidation, it's respect and admiration, which is pretty neat to see.
First of all, I want to say thanks for all the information, because it is very helpful. One thing that we're trying, and 3 years ago, we did bring in 2 interns. We brought 2 in together because of what you mentioned. You put an intern next to a seasoned systems programmer, that can be very intimidating. So we brought in 2, and then we actually hired 1. Now the question is, any of the young engineers that you've brought on board, are they at Share today? I'm just a general question.
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, because I did the same thing. I brought one of my young engineers, 24 years old. She's at Chair, and she's a CICS systems programmer, and I think it's great to have in there.
We don't have anyone here. We had 31 in Pittsburgh.
That works for
but
you.
what we do is technical disclosure meetings in Poughkeepsie. We get them there. And then another thing we've been doing, which has been pretty neat, and maybe a little tip for each of you, is customer visits, good and bad. If there's an issue, Chuck Kalish or our senior architects, you bring an ASE with you. And they're not really necessarily saying anything, but they just listen. So their first time isn't when there's a crit sit or an issue. They're joining them. So it's, in the cost, a lot of times they carpool. You know, it's a minimal cost and a lot of benefit. So we've been doing that as well.
And the one thing that I did do is reach out to a local university, George Mason in Northern Virginia. And just like you mentioned, it's really, the students really, they didn't know what the mainframe was about. And you bring them in as an intern, you put out the billets, you bring in an intern, and guess what? They're like excited, and you know, and they want to learn, and there's this new world of mainframe. So it does work, and tap your local universities, because there's a lot of talent there. Whether mainframe is taught at the university or not, there's still computer science majors that have an interest in technology. So
That's great.
Do we have time for one more, or are we wrapping up?
One more.
One more question?
Here you go.
Okay.
I know we're focusing on the entry level, you know, and you guys are doing a great job of not having that attrition and they're staying, but from my perspective, I'm also looking for those junior level guys. You know, I'll post a job and have, you know, 30, 40 senior level guys apply for a junior level position. You know, how are you working to get those junior level guys into your systems also beyond just your entry level?
What do you mean junior level?
Well,
Mid-level?
People with experience, mid-level.
Like 5 years, 10 years experience?
Exactly.
You know, I'd say unique at CA, I don't necessarily have that dynamic because we started this 7, 8 years ago, that now my entry-level folks are my middle tenure. If I hadn't, then yeah, I got a 10, 15 years, a big gap, which I've seen at other companies. That's the problem. That's another reason why you got to get started now. So I can't talk to that, I'm sorry. But
yeah, we don't, I won't say that we don't have a junior level. I mean, but what we found is that we're back leveling with our program graduates into those positions, unless it's an absolute SME in a specific technology. Then we have to go the standard route and try to find those resources. But for the majority of them, we're backfilling with our program graduates.
which I'd say, you know, our attrition is only 4%, but yours at 0. I'd say that's why the attrition is low there, because again, they see a career. They're not stuck like, oh geez, I'm waiting for this guy to retire. And you know, there's a natural kind of progression of ins and outs going on that they don't have to leave to get promoted, which a lot of times happen. You got to leave a company to go get promoted.
One more quick one back from the back.
Can I just add one more tidbit, something that I've seen that, you know, with Agile at CA, very important software engineers. You know, I just changed I had some like test engineers in my organization I just picked up or anything, and I think that has helped, that with the new ones coming in, you're a software engineer. You know, again, similar to the Marine Corps, you know, as Tom will probably appreciate if it's in here, but you know, everyone's a rifleman, but then, you know, you got a specialty, logistics, pilot, tank, whatever, but at the core, you're a rifleman. Same thing that I've seen with mainframe development at CA is you're a software engineer. So, you know, if things are quiet in the field, which we pray for, you know, maybe you're going to do some testing or you're going to do some development, and the kids, the young men and women, really like that because they don't feel like, geez, I'm going to be stuck in test. Not that there's anything wrong with that, Taryn, but they see a cross-functional career. They see a cross-functional career as a software engineer. And you know, if I like test, maybe I can go into that. Or if I like level 1, I enjoy customer interaction, working crit sits, then I can go up that. But they still have that opportunity to kind of be cross-functional as a software engineer.
Okay, unfortunately, we're
That's
going
good.
to have to wrap it up. This has been great. We could just talk about it on and on, but thank you again for joining us, and I'm sure these fine folks are available for more questions afterward if y'all would like to talk to them. Thank you.